Young man from Dardanelles, Arkansas. We all take great pride in him. Senator Tom Cotton, United States Senator for Arkansas, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Bill. Great to be on with you.
Nice comeback against Tennessee.
It was, for once, yes. We finally turned it around. Hopefully that'll be a start of a long winning streak for the Razorbacks.
It gets tough, as you know, in this conference. It gets very tough. So
it'll be tough against the Crimson Tide at home this weekend. There's no doubt about that.
Do you get to go to games?
Not as often as I would like to, especially now that I've got a little 5-month-old to take care of.
That's exactly right. You got to start reading the Federalist Papers to him, right?
The Book of Virtue.
Okay. Oh, wow. What a comeback. I'm going to set you up again, sir. Thank you very much. Senator Cotton, a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with, we're delighted to see you picking up this issue on the Secret Service. What is going on? We heard about it mostly from Jason Chaffetz and his outrage at his file being poked through. What is happening?
Bill, this is the exact kind of encroachment by the executive onto the legislature that our founding fathers warned against and that they armed both branches to fight off. I mean, what happened is that armed agents of the executive violated the law to intimidate a congressman from doing his job. As Congressman Chaffetz was holding an oversight hearing, literally during the hearing into Secret Service security lapses, agents at the Secret Service began searching in their databases that includes all kinds of criminal and investigative and security and personnel matter for his name. They found the fact that he applied to the Secret Service 12 years ago and was not hired. And then within a week, that was spread to hundreds of agents, 45 different people accessed that database, almost all of them in violation of the Privacy Act. One assistant director even suggested that they leak it just to be fair because it was embarrassing to him. And lo and behold, 2 days later, it was out in the press. This is not a matter just about Jason Chaffetz. I feel the same way if Elijah Cumming, Congressman Chaffetz's Democratic counterpart, was the target of this. And for that matter, how do we know he wasn't? And this is not simple misconduct. This is not just a security lapse of, say, letting someone with a gun near the president in an elevator or hiring prostitutes overseas. This is a constitutional affront to the people's elected representatives.
And it would be, I'm just trying to parse this in my own mind, Senator, it would be a constitutional affront if a staffer in the White House had done it too. But somehow it seems so much worse to me because it's the Secret Service.
If anyone in the executive branch is using information that's protected by the Privacy Act, one, they're violating federal law, even if they're doing it to the little guy, the Arkansan who doesn't have the megaphone and the position of influence that Congressman Chaffetz or Congressman Cummings have. But for it to be an armed agent.
Yes.
I mean, that is the exact kind of encroachment on the legislature against which our founders warned and armed the Congress. That's why I had placed an objection to 3 prominent political nominations until Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson and President Obama treat this with the seriousness it deserves and start a criminal investigation and take appropriate disciplinary action against those involved.
The large number of people looking at it is really quite stunning.
And it's not. The Inspector General report says 45 different people accessed the file, almost all of whom had no legitimate reason, but maybe even worse, 18 supervisors knew or should have known of it and apparently took no steps to stop it. And just last week, literally the day after the Inspector General report was released, the director of the Secret Service, Joe Clancy, revised his statement. In the report, he states that he did not have any knowledge of this happening. Last week, after the Inspector General report was released, he changed his tune. He said, actually, he knew about it the day after the very hearing started it all.
Now,
it's bad enough that he may have misrepresented the facts to the Inspector General, and now the Inspector General has reopened his investigation to figure out exactly why Mr. Clancy didn't recall the facts for 2 months ago and now has a clearer memory 2 months on. But even if we had known at the time, even if the report had said that the director knew of this rumor being spread the day after the hearing, it is still a gross failure of leadership that this person, Joe Clancy, who was hired specifically to clean up the leadership culture of the Secret Service, didn't stop and say, how do you know that? Where did you hear that? How did you learn that? And then take immediate steps to remedy it. He did nothing for a week until the Washington Post reported on the matter, and then the very next day he sent an all-staff email telling them to stop.
Well, I'm glad you're exercised at this. You should be. As you lay it out, it's really quite extraordinary. I'm just thinking in my own mind, I served a couple of presidents and had the opportunity to sit with them, travel with them, be around them with the Secret Service. And there's hardly anybody that the President of the United States trusts more and entrusts more confidences with than the Secret Service.
Absolutely.
Presidents speak freely around these guys, and if they cannot be trusted, one can imagine the harm that they could do.
And I just want to highlight that the men and women of the Secret Service who do fine, upstanding work are in part responsible for the Inspector General starting this investigation. It was whistleblowers within the
that's
Secret
good
Service
at least
that helped contribute to the fact that the congressional staff and the Inspector General learned of this misconduct and began his investigation. There are approximately 7,000 employees at the Secret Service.
Yeah.
While 45 of them accessing this file inappropriately is very disconcerting, that means that approximately 6,950 did not. They're all the vast majority of them are fine, upstanding professionals who risk their lives. But we can't have a leadership culture in a paramilitary law enforcement agency that suggests that it's okay to pilfer their files looking for dirt on the people's elected representatives.
And that's it. Make this plain for me. Sometimes I miss the obvious and don't state the obvious. They were looking for the reason he was disqualified for service in the Secret Service, and they were hoping to find something. Did they find? I don't want to deal with it. Obviously, it's confidential. But did they find something, or were they playing to get some embarrassing fact?
It's actually worse than that, Bill. So the Inspector General report states that a agent in the Washington headquarters office, 18 minutes into the hearing with Congressman Chaffetz, searched their database. This is not just a personnel database. This is a massive database that includes criminal investigations. It includes investigations of threats to their protected persons. It includes other kinds of security information. So it's not as if she knew that Congressman Chaffetz had applied 12 years earlier and had not received a job. Maybe she thought that there was criminal information about him. Maybe she thought that there was other security-related information. And for that matter, to go back to my original point, how do we know that this stopped with Congressman Chaffetz? Congressman Cummings was outraged at some of the security lapses by the Secret Service. How do we know they didn't pilfer through their files for him as well and simply didn't find any information about him?
So if they got this information, I just want to play this out, a little bit of a TV drama here. If they got this information, what do? They make a secret phone call or a letter to Chaffetz saying, if you keep up this investigation, we're going to drop this in the press?
Well, so within just a few days, it was widely known by hundreds of agents all around the country, according to the Inspector General. People far-flung places of Albany, Georgia, Sacramento, California, London, even members of Bill Clinton's Secret Service protective detail was accessing this database. And that's not even counting all of the word of mouth. And then the assistant director of the Secret Service, the man in charge of training at Secret Service, sent an email saying embarrassing information about him needs to get out, just to be fair. And lo and behold, 2 days later, a news website ran a story about Jason Chaffetz having applied to the Secret Service 12 years ago and not receiving the job.
Did they state why he didn't receive the job? Did they get into dirt or whatever?
They did not.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know. I'm still shaking my head because, again, like I said, I had Secret Service protection for a while, but I, known a lot of these guys. It seemed to me they were the ultimate in trustworthiness. What has happened? What has happened?
A theme that you hear throughout the Inspector General report on this matter and the other reports on some of the Secret Service's security lapses in recent years is the severe lack of trust that the line agents have now in their senior management. And remember, Director Clancy was specifically hired by President Obama and Secretary Johnson to clean up those problems. And right now it appears that he may be perpetrating them and covering them up.
Well, if you can't no, this is the problem. Again, American confidence, the American people. If you can't trust these guys, who can you trust, right? I mean, that's the sad thing. Don't make the American people less trusting. Don't make them more cynical about their government. We don't need that. That's an amazing thing. We're glad you're on it. Can I ask you 2 foreign policy questions?
Yes, sir.
Quickly. Syria and Russia, we've had several experts on. Fly zone, yes or no?
Well, I said that we should have applied a no-fly zone years ago in this conflict. I believe we still should, yes. And we should also make it perfectly clear to Vladimir Putin that if his aircraft violate NATO airspace, whether it's in Turkey or whether it's in the Baltics, where he's come close to doing it in the past, that our allies have every right to shoot down those invading aircraft, and we will honor our Article 5 commitments to other NATO countries.
Is that baby in your lap?
Say again?
Is that baby in your lap? Are you doing an interview with the baby in your lap?
Not quite. He's in my wife's lap, a couple feet away from me.
Adorable. Send him back to the Book of Virtues, or let him talk. It's fine. This is an early morning show. We do this, and this is a family show, so people love it. What's the child's name, if you'll tell us or not?
Gabriel.
Gabriel. Beautiful. That is.
He's our little angel.
Yeah, there you go. For now, wait till the twos. Wait till the twos, Tom.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. When he becomes a toddler, maybe he'll be a fallen angel.
Yeah. Then you put the Book of Virtues. Very funny. You're a step ahead of me. The guy told me about the book. Since you brought it up, I'm going to punish you, sir. He said it's great for reading stories, and it's big. So when they misbehave, you can spank them with it, too. So anyway, all right. So you're still for it. Here's my question. Putin, just seems to like to, intimidate the president and keep taking another step. We try to enforce a no-fly zone. I mean, we have planes. Could there be a collision? Could there be a confrontation? Could we have World War III?
Well, I mean, that's inherent in the nature of a no-fly zone, that if an aircraft goes in a no-fly zone, whether it's Syrian or Russian or any other nations, that you have to engage it. But part of the point of what Vladimir Putin is doing is not testing U.S. capabilities. There's no doubt our capabilities are greater than theirs. He's testing U.S. will and intention. And right now, President Obama has shown once again that he simply does not have the will to stand up to Vladimir Putin's repeated provocations. I would go all the way back to 2008 when President Obama was a candidate to say that Vladimir Putin took his measure. Russia invaded Georgia, and Barack Obama, then candidate Obama's response was to call on both sides to show restraint. Russia was invading Georgia, and he called on Georgia to show restraint. He did the same thing when Russia invaded Crimea last year.
Real quick, if you have the no-fly zone and we put our planes up, does Putin back down, yes or no?
I think he does back down. Every time he's been challenged, he's shown that he was back down. He knows that he is playing a weak hand. He has modernized his military, but it's still nowhere near as capable as ours. His economy is in free fall. His demographics are in inexorable decline. And I would point out that Benjamin Netanyahu went to Moscow 3 weeks ago. We're not sure what he discussed, but presumably it was their need to interdict missile shipments in Syria to Lebanon. It's bad that our allies now have to go to Russia to get or to worry about Russian forces on the battlefield. But what do you think Benjamin Netanyahu did? Do you think he said, we'd like your permission to strike these missiles, or we're going to strike them, you better keep Russians away from them?
Got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Don't let that young man trade that book for a trumpet, okay?
He may use it as a teething toy for a while.
Okay. Thank you, Senator, very, very much. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.